Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. The topic of our talk tonight is Loon, Pursuit of Happiness, from rap sensation to Islam. We were going to have a short 2-minute clip, a video clip, to give a background of who Loon is. And I'm sure some of you know, but for the others who Loon is, because it would have been touching to know the background of where Loon came from to Islam on his journey in pursuit of happiness. The video clip, unfortunately, is not here right now, but I'll do a short introduction myself, inshallah, from what we have come across. Although I knew very little about rap music, but I've gotten to know a bit in the last couple of days. Just to understand and appreciate, and really, that it's a very befitting pursuit of happiness, which is the topic of our talk today. Loon, back in 1995, our special guest speaker, he started to write songs for some of the top singers at that time. But in fact, let's go, when we're talking about the pursuit of happiness, let's go back before. Loon was born in a family where his grandfather was in the film industry in Hollywood making movies. As a child, he went to the school where the Hollywood celebrities, their kids would go to the school in Beverly Hills. You might think it's the ultimate in terms of pursuit of happiness that his classmate at school was none less than Angelina Jolie. And then later on, he grew up to become as big as any celebrity, mashallah, tabarakallah, if I could say that, which is by writing songs for Bad Boys Records with Puff Daddy as their lead singer. These songs went on to become hit songs across the world, and then he wrote after that songs which he performed himself, and within days after performing, they became a hit across the world. That took him to many countries around the world, performing concerts in front of audiences ranging from 30,000 to 50,000 people for one concert. This was all, I guess, a happiness that some people might think in a dunya sense. Some of these songs, some of these songs were nominated for the Grammy Award. Some of them, actually, he won 8 ASCAP awards as well for the songs that he wrote and performed. One of them, of course, was his album that was titled with his own name, Loon, and another one that I believe he shared with Puff Daddy, which was titled, I Need a Girl. Now, many people might think that's the pursuit of happiness. That was one of the albums, one of the songs that he sang. Since then, he's become a Muslim in the last 2 years, and that is where we can see on his face loud and clear he found so much happiness. So today, we will speak about the pursuit of happiness, Loon, from the rap sensation to Islam, and we pray to paradise. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Wow, someone's cheating. No, you wasn't. It was you? Oh, no, I'm joking. Brothers and sisters in Islam, once again, I want to thank the brothers and all those who participated in making the arrangements. I want to thank y'all all for inviting me. Because as you know, when we do not thank the people, we do not thank Allah. And gratitude is something I'm going to touch on as well today by elaborating on the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness is something that we all seek, we all hope to obtain. We all go through very strenuous lengths to try to find true happiness. And I want to share with y'all today basically my journey, which led to the happiness that only Islam can give you. It led to the happiness that only Islam can offer you. I spent many years of my life chasing what I thought was success. Like the brother mentioned, I was born and raised in the streets of New York. I was born in Harlem, New York City. It's a mecca for a lot of things. Drugs, violence, hip-hop, you name it. Anything sinful under the sun definitely took place in Harlem. And this was the environment I was born and raised in. Raised around those who had a significant influence in the community, speaking mainly of those who were hustlers, drug dealers, crooks, criminals, whatever you want to call them. And being that this was the most dominant influence in the community, this was the beginning of my pursuit to obtaining success, was by indulging in the activities that took place in my community in regards of drugs, violence, etc. Now, living in the inner city, many of you may know or may not know, when you live in impoverished communities, everyone is seeking a way, basically a way out. Me, I was raised by my grandparents. My mother and father, they were very known. They were known legends in the street. They acquired millions and millions of dollars by dealing in drugs and violence. But by Allah's permission, I was handed to my grandparents, who were more, pious, more upright. My grandmother's a beautician. My grandfather, he served 30 years in the army. So they were pretty much the center of my family. They were the only ones who established what we call a halal way of living. Wow. So basically, by me being raised by my grandparents, I learned certain morals. I learned certain things that prepared me for dealing with what was outside the door. Because as parents, many of us know we can create, the most firmest structure in the home, but there's also, or always, another set of parents waiting outside the door. So all the morals and the good character and good mannerisms that I learned in my house, I was able to utilize these things in order to, coexist with the individuals that, ran the community in regards to drugs and violence. And I found myself indulging in this stuff. I found myself making a lot of fast money, and I found myself getting into a lot of fast trouble. Found myself getting incarcerated. Found myself dealing with a lot of the ills that came with the street. And remind you, this wasn't by choice, this was by default. This was by being in an environment that bred this. So every dream that I had, like most kids start off honest, they want to be cops, they want to be doctors, they want to be lawyers. But you don't see that outside your door. You don't see any lawyers. You don't see any doctors. You don't see these prominent positions ever being obtainable. So what happens, it becomes almost hereditary that you fall into whatever level of success is obtainable by ways of doing what's in the community. But luckily I found that I had the ability to write. I never finished school, I knew how to count money, and I wasn't good at math, but I knew how to count some money, and I knew how to write. And writing became my escape. Writing became the means that I used to place myself in China before I even had a passport. I was able to use my ability to write and elaborate off my imagination and some of the dreams that I had, and I used that to escape this harsh reality. As soon as the song was over and the pen was dry, reality would sit right back in. Where my mind had just ventured, it will always return where my body was, in the ghetto. But I never gave up on the writing, because I found satisfaction in it. It was very therapeutic for me. It gave me a means to find some sort of balance without losing my sanity being in this environment. And this was the beginning of my pursuit of happiness. I found happiness through expressing myself by writing. But by writing, I discovered that this was something I could truly use in a more, business sense. And that's when I learned that I could start writing for individuals who were in the music business. So I started utilizing some of my street connections and people who were tied to some of these individuals, and they put me in this circle of these stars, these rappers and singers and stuff. So I started writing songs by like 1995. Believe it or not, the first song I ever wrote was for Shaquille O'Neal, a basketball player. One time he tried to do his little rap rendition. He thought he was a rapper at one time. And I wrote the songs. It happened to be big records because it was Shaquille O'Neal, Alhamdulillah, I started to continuously write and continuously find success being a ghostwriter, meaning no one knew the origin of these songs. I would just write them, I would receive checks in the mail, and I would just, spend this money recklessly, thinking that as long as I have this ability to write, it was easy for me to do. So as long as I keep writing, I could always have money. So I never was responsible for the money. I would just take the money and blow it. And it gave me happiness. It gave me joy to be able to go buy a car, go buy some jewelry, buy things, give things to my family, give things to my little sisters. And I became kind of like the breadwinner. But then eventually, this writing propelled me into being an artist. And I wrote some very big records. I wrote over 52 top 10 hits. I sold over 7 million records worldwide. Alhamdulillah, I'm on my 3rd passport. I done seen pretty much all 4 corners of the globe. Last grade I finished was the 8th grade. My education came from traveling. My education came from paying attention and being very attentive to the things that was passing me by as I was living my life, pursuing happiness. Now, many of you question yourself every day. What is happiness? What is happiness? What truly makes us happy? In my case, family made me happy. This was the only thing that made sense to me was my family. I was a father at 16 years old. I left my house at 15 years old. I've been on my own pretty much my whole life. So when I look at some of the young brothers here and I can see the new in their face and I can see the innocence, I can tell that you still spend hours playing Xbox and you're enjoying your childhood. These were things I missed. These were things I missed because I had to endure the responsibility of being a parent at a very young age. But this was the only thing that made me happy, was having my family. But when my career took off at Bad Boy Records, which a lot of y'all may be familiar with, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, Diddy, the many names he has, alhamdulillah, may Allah guide him. He's a good brother, he definitely need our du'as. But everybody who does know him know he's a very iconic figure in the music business. And doing these successful records with Puff, I got a glimpse at what I thought was success, what I thought was happiness. I thought happiness came with buying a $300,000 car or $200,000 car. But after a while I would drive it, the buttons and everything, all the light up gadgets inside it would get boring and it would just become a car. It would be no different than a Fiat. Go from Ferrari to Fiat while sitting in the Ferrari. These things had expiration dates. There wasn't no longevity in this happiness. They were very short-lived moments that I could only extend by living vicariously through people who didn't have it. And this is when you start to become, for lack of better words, a vampire. Because I need to suck the joy from you in order to be happy about what I have. SubhanAllah. I needed to extract your vulnerability and your innocence to these things in order for me to feel happy about what I had. My chain was just a chain until I seen the size of your eyes when you looked at it. Then it became more than just a chain. My car became more than a car when you sitting in the fresh leather seats and you sitting there playing with stuff and you just looking around like a tourist. In my car. Now I'm ready to show you what the car do. But before I was doing it all the time and it never amazed me. This is what you call living vicariously through other people. And when I started to get in this state, I thought it was only me. I thought it was only me. Until I started to meet people who were more richer and more successful and more powerful than me. And they would do the same things. SubhanAllah, when I Need a Girl, a lot of y'all know, was a very big record. But it also was like a big wedding record. I found myself doing weddings for the Mexican cartel, Russian mafia. I was in Ireland with the IRA. I had a Russian call me on the phone. "Loon, my daughter loves your song. I'm going to send a jet." Like, who is this guy? I don't know this guy. Next thing you know, is another guy. You know, big dude. He called just to let it be known. But then another guy come. He's the translator and the guy that's going to do it. And he'll say, "Loon, we're going to send a car. We're going to pick you up. We're going to take you to Teterboro. You're going to get on the jet. You're going to go to Kazakhstan." Like, what? Stan. I just heard of Stan. I knew Istanbul. I knew all these stands, you know. I'm looking at the media like, it's a stand on the end of that. Kazakhstan? Kyrgyzstan? I'm thinking all the stands. I'm not going nowhere near no stands, man. I ain't standing nowhere. But that's how it used to be. You know, these people would live vicariously through me. And I'm thinking that, you know, I had the power to live vicariously through others. But just because his daughter loved my song, he's pulling strings now. "Look, I'm going to send a car to pick you up." You know, it's happened to me many times. You know, I done met triads, yakuzas. I found myself doing weddings for some of the most craziest people in the world, some of the most wildest organizations in the world. I'm like the wedding singer. I'm like, you know, this international wedding singer. And I'm looking at how people are gravitating to me and extracting what little joy I had left to make themselves happy. So now I'm sitting amongst a circle of vampires, and guess what? I'm one of them. SubhanAllah. And I thought this was happiness. But what it really was a disease. It was a disease. Very short-lived. It's like anything you ever tried in your life the first time. Whatever sensation you got the first time, you've been chasing that. You're chasing that. You're trying everything to reenact that moment that took place the first time you had ice cream. First time you did anything. You go to the same spot to get the same thing, but it don't taste the same like the first time. So you say to yourself, I'm going to go to the other store down the street and get a box of Breyers, and maybe that ice cream will taste the way it did when I tried the first school. But it never happens. So now you're trying to find alternative ways to recapture these moments. And that's when you realize you're really not happy. That's when you realize there's an emptiness now that needs to be filled. Because all the ambiance around my outer shell and my exterior looks like this guy is having the time of his life. You are turning on a video, you're seeing 3-minute and 40-second frames of me, quote unquote, living it up. Young kids all over the world are looking at us, jumping out of helicopters, riding Harleys, doing all of this in just one session. 3 minutes done went by. We done been in 3 different vehicles, 2 different states. And you're looking at this fascinated, like these people must be extremely happy. Some of y'all done seen videos where brothers is just throwing $20,000 and $30,000 in the air. It's raining money. You sitting up there looking at your bills like, man, if I could just fall out the TV screen right now, I would pay my house off and everything right now. I would just pay everything off 6 months ahead. But all we was doing was forging happiness. We was forging it. Forging it. I heard of counterfeit money. We had counterfeit lives. It didn't matter if we owned some of the things inside the videos. It still was being forged. Can you imagine touring the world and having cars you don't even get to drive because you're always on the plane? What are they there for? What's the sense of 5 cars if you're only going to drive one? It ain't like one going to get you there any faster. Yeah, I tried driving out here in Brisbane. You see all the speed bumps and stop signs. You ain't really going to enjoy no Porsche. You'd be lucky you get the second gear. SubhanAllah. You'd rather have a truck with some extra shocks that you could just run all up and down the street and get places faster than the guy in the Porsche. You know? Doesn't have a real value. So I used to constantly ask myself, what is missing? Why am I not happy? Why am I not happy? Why am I not happy? Why am I frustrated? Why am I now getting frustrated with my fans, the people who are purchasing the records and the people that are aiding me in obtaining the success? Why am I snapping on them now because they still so happy and geeked up to see me, but I'm not really happy? And I don't really feel like signing your autograph right now. No, I don't feel like taking a picture. I'm not happy. Then it started to turn into, why are you so happy? For real. This is how you meet a celebrity on a bad day. You say, that guy's a jerk, you know. I bought his record for $14.99. He's a jerk, yo. All I asked him was for a picture. He had the big guy with him take my camera and throw it on the moon, man. But the point was, you start to get frustrated because you extracted happiness from them. Now, you're looking at them like, why are you so happy? And that's when you start to realize your value. You start to realize, like, why is this person acting like this about me? If he only knew what I was going through right now, I would trade in anything just to have that genuine smile that's on his face right now. I would trade in anything to have that innocence and that naiveness that comes from not really knowing why you even happy. I would have did anything to be as pure as the person standing before me. All he spent was $14.99. And he got everything he wanted. I may have spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I just want what he got. And this is when I start paying closer attention to my surroundings. And this is when I discovered you, the Muslim. This is when I discovered the Muslim. This is when I started to travel the world and I started to pay so much attention to my surroundings, and what I saw once I left America was pieces and traces of Islam. Every place I went, I started to see people who didn't have much, happy to serve their God. I seen people who were way less fortunate than me, had a certain sense of security that I couldn't buy. My security came with earplugs in their ear and a whole bunch of creatine in their system. That was my security. I was telling the brother about the brother that used to bodyguard me. He was shorter than me. He was a federal bondsman and he had a license to carry a gun anywhere in the world. So I'm walking around, me, a celebrity, with a guy shorter than me. How intimidating is my presence? They like, I'm going to beat him and shorty up. I take the chain from him or whatever. But the guy was a monster. You know? He was an animal, you know, vegetarian too. He ain't never eat no meat or nothing. It was just ridiculous. you know. But the reality of it is, you know, just to start summing things up and get down to the point, you can't purchase happiness. It's not something you can buy. It doesn't have a price tag. You know, it doesn't have a price tag. And the sad thing is when you see people who already genuinely have happiness in their life and don't even know it. And it takes a person to go through what I was going through to see how you have happiness already. But you're willing to trade it in to take the sickness that I just had. And I'm ready to take everything pure about you and wipe myself down with it. I'm ready to take a shower in your joy. And why is that? Like, why? How does that happen? How does that happen? How is this revolving door continuously, perpetually just spinning? And the happiness is just getting slung back and forth through two individuals. One who already had it, one that wants it. One that gets it from you, now you unhappy. Because you done placed yourself in a situation where now you've endured this sickness. And guess what? It was at the cost of your joy. It was at the cost of your joy. This is not happiness. This is not happiness when you're chasing something material, chasing something that has an expiration date, when your family will love you forever. I mean, many of these celebrities, I've been around people that had to be reminded it's their mother's birthday. SubhanAllah. As Muslims, you know, we don't celebrate it, but as a Kafir, I mean, it was a big deal to know your mother's birthday at least, like, you know, some flowers or something, your mother. Your assistant had, I mean, guys, their assistant had to come and say, oh, you know, perfect, you know, it's your mother's birthday thing. Oh, you're right. You serious? Oh, yeah. This the womb you came out of. Like, how you forget that? But that just shows you how engulfed people are in this lifestyle. But you don't see this. You don't get to see this. Some of y'all young brothers today, y'all more concerned about Jay-Z being a Mason and all this crazy stuff, and y'all don't even know nothing about your own deen. So you about to trade in happiness to educate yourself on propaganda. SubhanAllah. This is not a fair trade. This is something that's crazy. And I can see it now. I couldn't see it before, but I see it now. Like this is kind of like, this is destructive. This is self-destructive. Sisters as well, y'all not free from this. You know, some of y'all ready to trade in this security, this modesty that you've been given, to put yourself in a situation where you're looked at like an instrument, or where you're looked at like a tool, an object of beauty, when Allah already sees you that way. And any pious man who fears Allah, he sees you that way. So where does it become this obligation to remove yourself from that, to start gradually exposing the adornments that make you who you are? Because believe me, I've seen some crazy things happen to women that I'd be scared for my sisters in Islam. To be honest with you. I'd be scared for a woman, period. Because I have a lot of women in my family. Most of my fights in the street was because of women. I got 2 twin sisters. My grandmother, she had 4 girls, no boys. Everybody had girls. All got long, pretty hair. You understand? It was summers I was walking around with a cast because I tried to remove all the rubber teeth because of one of the girls in my family. I was very overprotective about the women in my family. I was raised by a woman. My grandmother raised me. She didn't have to. I wasn't her child. This is why my songs was a reflection of how I felt about women. I need a girl. It was the best I can do for myself. It was the best I could do for myself. It was the best image I could project for myself based on the lifestyle I really was living. I was Loon from 13. Loon wasn't a name that came with the record. Loon was because I wasn't wrapped too tight. Loon is short for loony. Loony in Arabic. Huh? Majnoon. You got a friend named Majnoon? You hang with a guy named Majnoon? Come on. Let's do the math. I wasn't the guy that was just, the box of chocolate and flour guy showing up at your door That wasn't who I was. But that was the best of me at the time. That was the best of me. I considered all the women I loved, all the women I respected and appreciated when I wrote those records. And that's what kind of helped me abstain from that life when I started to see young girls who were forging their identification to get in some of these clubs. 16 years old, finding themselves, laying somewhere, and slipped a date rape drug. Never once gave away her chastity. But on this night, because of one foolish move that added a few too many numbers next to her age, put on too many layers of makeup, threw on a 3-inch heel, and found herself in a situation she wasn't even prepared for. And when these things used to happen in my career, I never wanted to be responsible for them because I knew my intention. My intention had nothing to do with those things. But after a while, I had to accept it because it was more common than rare. It started to happen more. Young brothers, seeing me come through my neighborhood and all these nice cars and all that stuff, and they standing on the corner, hustling, doing their little tools and fuels, and they get themselves jammed up, plotting to get something faster, because this ain't working. We need to rob a bank. We need to rob somebody. We need to do something, man. You seen that car Moon has? I need that. I done seen lives lost for nothing in the streets. Absolutely nothing. Just for a person to have a short-lived moment himself. To spend 25 years, the rest of his life in jail for one little robbery. Just to have something for 5 days before he gets trailed down by the police. Beat to a pulp, put in a car, and spending 25 years of his life down the drain. And the only thing you got to talk about that whole 25 years is that 5 days you had a Ferrari. Stuff them up. This is sick. So we got to ask ourselves, what is happiness? What is happiness? What does Islam teach us about happiness? What is the real pursuit of happiness? I will tell you 3 of the 4 principles to the pursuit of happiness by Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab. 1, when you are given, you are grateful. I repeat, when you are given, you are grateful. How much have we been given? And how truly grateful are we? This is the first step to pursuing true happiness. When you are given, you are grateful. By show of hands, how many brothers and sisters in here are born and raised Muslim? Not half a hands, put them up like you're on a roller coaster. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's almost 90%. That's actually the whole room pretty much. How many are reverts such as myself? MashaAllah. How many of my brothers and sisters from Adam? Me and my non-Muslim brothers. No, you're my brother in Islam. I'm talking about from Adam. Because we all have the same father. Adam, any non-Muslims here? Okay. We've been given something. We've been given a mercy. We've been given the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He sent the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a mercy to all mankind. And just to have my non-Muslim brothers and sisters thrown in the loop, every nation before this nation today was sent a messenger. was sent a clear warning, only by the mercy of Allah, to warn the people to worship God and only God, to worship Allah and only Allah. And those that chose to follow that messenger will be saved on the day of resurrection. And those that neglected or deprived that call to Tawheed, meaning to worship God and God alone, on the day of resurrection they will be the losers. And this was something that happened repetitively all the way up to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The most diligent in this call to worshiping God and God alone was Noah alayhi salam, Prophet Noah. For over 950 years he called the people to worship God and God alone. And if I'm not mistaken, may Allah forgive me, only 72 people I recall got on that ark. We got over 70 people here. How long did that take? Didn't take 950 years. If I said free food at the masjid, that joint would be full before I finish the sentence. Free. Food. So when you are giving, you are grateful. So who are we not to be grateful for what we've been given? I'll give you some examples of lack of gratitude. And I mentioned this before, and even it's still funny to me to this day. Because I've been asked a lot of these questions, and it just sometimes it's hilarious, but at the same time I look at it sincerely and seriously. When someone says, Brother Amir, you know, they have like Dancing with the Stars on TV. You know, why we can't have Dancing with the Sheikh? I'm looking at it, brother, like, you seriously want to answer to that? SubhanAllah, you really want it? I'm saying, you know, it'd be dope if, you know, you spin a sister around in your car and do, you know what I'm saying, the brother come out with the gutra on his head. What you think? Like, Aki, come on, are you serious? You'd be surprised. I'm trying to tell you, I've been asked some crazy things. Brother Amir, you know, they got the NBA, right? Why we can't have the NBA? The Muslim Basketball Association. I mean, it'd be dope, you know? Especially if the championship game is during Ramadan, we can break our fast during the halftime show. And I mean, and people be, these be ideas. They really be just revved up, and I be looking like, wow. You ever think about giving dawah to 50 Cent and all of them? I didn't ask to be a Muslim. I mean, Allah makes Muslims. Fortunately, he guided a rapper. Now you want the whole rap world? You want every rapper now? The brother Napoleon been Muslim way before me. Freeway been Muslim way before me. Lupe Fiasco. There's many entertainers in the music business that were Muslim before me. But Allah didn't choose them all to give dawah. Allah didn't choose them all to come out here for the sake of Allah and share these experiences. They're actually still living it. And may Allah guide them. But this is where the lack of gratitude comes in. It's like this is where we find ourselves competing, like I just told you before, trying to extract the joy of others or trying to extract something that makes others happy when Allah already gave us the guidelines to establishing and obtaining true happiness by way of adhering to our obligation and our purpose of creation. Is to worship the one who created us. Because if we die in that state of submission, only by Allah's mercy we enter His Jannah. We enter His paradise. It's not a cheap ride. It's not something you do from your lazy boy seat. Feet kicked up, remote in your right hand, drinking it, you know what I'm saying? You're sitting like God knows what's in my heart. Yeah. He knows. SubhanAllah. When people say that to me, I say, you're right. You're absolutely right. I don't even argue with them. You're right. Allah knows what's in your heart. And He knows your statement and actions go right in accordance with your heart. And guess what? You're absolutely right. He knows what's in your heart. He knows what's in all our hearts. He knew what was in your heart 50,000 years before He created man. He knows what's in your heart. So when you make this statement, reflect on it. Don't just say it because it sounds good. Don't just say it because you're trying to conceal your negligence or your lack of gratitude. That's what it is. It's a justification for saying, I'm really not that grateful. But you know what? God knows the gratefulness that's in my heart. This is a lazy act of ibadah. This is not even really ibadah. This is not worship. Worship is taking the most beloved part of your body. Most beloved. For the sisters as well. This is the part you love. And placing it on the floor. That's gratefulness. That's gratitude. So when you are giving, you are grateful. This is for the shabab as well. Y'all young brothers, I hope y'all paying attention. You ain't working yet, right? You ain't got no job, right? You got a job? You better than me. You better than me. You know, right now, your job, you do have a job. You know what your job is? That's your obligation. To worship was your job. It's also an obligation, but it is a duty to be dutiful to your parents. It's a duty. To be dutiful to your parents. Why? Because they provide for you. You ain't working quite yet. I ain't see you put up nothing for the phone bill this month, did you? So when you are giving, you are grateful. And y'all all are grateful. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Y'all all are grateful. But as adults, you know, this is where we fall short. We don't show the gratitude for what we was given. Second, when you are tested, you are patient. When you are tested, you are patient. Why are we patient? Because we've been given the greatest incentive for being patient. After every hardship comes what? Ease. Ease. If somebody said, yo, Akhi, I need you to stand on this corner, sell oranges in the blazing hot sun for 5 hours and I'll give you $5 million. Your name will be Abu Tangerine, right? You be out there slinging oranges like it's no tomorrow. Get them while they hot. Sweat pouring off your head, you don't even feel it. You just throwing it. You just, Why? Because your incentive at that moment is dunya. But it's an incentive to actually make you move, to actually make you be patient with the sun, make you be patient with the customers, it makes you be patient with everything that is going to transcend as a form of hardship, because the incentive is what? $5 million. Which will soon disappear, trust me, especially after taxes. Y'all in Australia. Ain't in no Muslim country. So when you are tested, you are patient. And this is incumbent upon all of us because, like I said, we have the greatest incentive for being patient. But I've been around those who don't understand this incentive and quite frankly never heard of it. So they lose their minds. They panic. They panic. And they search and reach for every alternative to suffice the reason why they don't want to wait. Especially rich people. You might go to a store. I used to be this way, trust me. You want something that ain't in stock. What do? Hey, give me the number to the headquarters. Give me the number. Now I'm about to order something all the way from Dubai when I could have just waited till it got to the States. Can't be patient. And this is just a small example, you understand? They can't wait. Picture somebody that need a blood transfusion. Oh, the blood bank is short right now. Oh, let's get on a plane. I'm going to India. I'm going to suck some blood out of one of those Indian guys walking around. I just can't wait. I need blood now. They don't trust in Allah. They don't sit there and patiently say, Qadab Allah, if Allah wants, my life to continue, inshallah, Allah said after every hardship is ease. I'm almost certain that ease is going to come, so I'm going to be patient. The blood is for me, inshallah, blood is for me. I've seen people, who are not even patient when it comes to reproducing children. It's like, I can't wait. I can't wait. You know what? I can't wait. I'm going to Kenya. I'm going to go rent me a kid. I'm going to buy me a kid. I'm just sick of this. I can't wait. I just can't wait. I want a child right now. Guys, like, please, baby, be patient. I mean, inshallah. No, we're going to Kenya. We're going to get us a kid. Now. So when you're tested, you're patient. And last but not least, when you are sinful, seek forgiveness. This is the one that is truly neglected. When you are sinful, seek forgiveness. Do not just accept defeat. Do not just say, because I hate this when I hear young brothers say, oh, mashallah, brother Amir, you gave us so much, you're Muslim, alhamdulillah, but me, myself, I'm a bad Muslim. Like, where did you come up with that? Why are you a bad Muslim? What did you do that the man that killed 100 people didn't do? The man that killed 99 people. And his tawbah was accepted. What did you do that you such a bad Muslim? Because when you place that title on yourself, you become that. You become that. You start to project it. You believe it. You start to project the image and the character that comes with it. And guess what? Other people can identify with it. And then at that point, it's evident. You become the bad Muslim. It's not saying you are. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Rahman. So who are we to doubt, question, or disbelieve in Allah's mercy? When Allah said He forgives sins. You didn't commit shirk. You were just sinful. So seek forgiveness. If you are sinful, seek forgiveness. Because sins can be like pebbles, and the more we commit them, they turn into rocks, then they turn into boulders, then they turn into mountains. So if we don't seek forgiveness, because we are deficient. There's not a man or a woman in this room who doesn't have a deficiency. You were created with one. So knowing that we're imperfect, knowing that we have shortcomings that we struggle with, constantly ask Allah to forgive you. If the Prophet ﷺ asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness over 70 times a day, a man who was free from this fitna, free from these sins, free from committing these sins, and still seeking for forgiveness, promised Jannah while he was still alive, and he can still seek forgiveness? Who are we to neglect? Who are we to neglect the rights that we have over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is one of the rights we have over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we can seek forgiveness, we can seek refuge, we can ask as many times, we can beg as much as we want, we can plead, ask, beg, scream, shout, whatever emotion we can extract, we have that right. Because we've been commanded to worship Him and nobody else, to seek refuge in Him and nobody else. So we have our direct source. So who are we to deprive ourselves of that by not seeking forgiveness? So this is the true pursuit of happiness. The true pursuit of happiness is submission. Submission. submitting and sacrificing everything that you thought was going to make you happy for what will truly make you happy. Because Allah's promise is true. Allah's promise is true. I can put my faith in any one of you brothers for the sake of Allah. And you can strive to comply for the sake of Allah. But based on the fact that you have a deficiency, there's a chance you will let me down. Doesn't have to be your intention. Doesn't mean you meant to. But you can let me down. But the only one that's free from this deficiency is Allah Azza wa Jal. So in order to find happiness, I would much rather place my faith, my trust, and everything into the Creator of the heavens and the earth and everything in it, because He's free from this deficiency. He's free from these shortcomings. He doesn't have to get on the highway during rush hour, because that would be a worthy excuse, right, why you ain't show up. Allah doesn't do traffic jam. So I want y'all to ponder on these things, because these are principles that I actually implement in my life all the time. Since I've been a Muslim, this definitely is something that is repetitive in my thought process. Is that when I'm giving, I'm grateful. And I've been given a lot. I've been given the opportunity to free myself from my past sins. I've been given the opportunity to rid myself of these artificial perks that I used to have in my life that I called joy and happiness. I was able to free myself from a circle of people who were only bloodsuckers. I was able to find an opportunity to be obedient when I didn't want to listen before. I never wanted to listen before. I was hard-headed. I did not want to hear nothing. I hated authority. I truly hated police. I hated anybody that had the authority to tell me what to do. So you know being incarcerated had to be the nightmare for me. Because you're telling me when to use the bathroom, when to turn the lights out, when to eat. I could not deal with that. So now being obedient is rewarding. And I know that. Why? Because once again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promise is true. So when you are giving, you are grateful. When you are tested, you are patient. And when you are sinful, seek forgiveness. And considering these principles will definitely keep you on the path of pursuing what is truly happiness. And that's submitting to the will of Allah, worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and associating no partners, striving hard to the best of your ability to implement the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. This is incumbent upon us. This is obligatory upon us. To be in opposition of this, you are destined. You are destined for doom. You are destined for the complete opposite of happiness. And understand that happiness in this dunya should be the thing that Allah made permissible for us to have. We should be sufficient with that. We should be content with that. Accept that as a happiness and not search for anything other than that. Because the real true happiness is when we're all called back and we have to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be held accountable for what we said, what we did with our wealth, what we did with our time, what we did with our health. We will be questioned for all these things. So when you're given, be grateful. When you're tested, be patient. And when you are sinful, seek forgiveness. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khairan to brother. We'll now have